Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. As I'm recording this video, I'm currently packing up my room because there's going to be construction. We have carpet on the floor right now and we're going to be getting hardwood floors. So that means I have to pack up everything I own and put it away for like a week or so. Since I have to do that, that includes all of my books, and I decided to significantly weed my TBR pile. This is mostly just because it's a lot of books to pack up if I kept them all, and I was going to make a video talking about the books that I got rid of, but really when it came down to it, I didn't have the inclination to talk about why I wanted to get rid of books, because it all just comes down to I'm just not interested in the book anymore. I probably was when I acquired it, and then I'm not now, so I decided I would just get rid of it if I didn't feel some sort of like strong feeling towards it. So I had probably right around 50 books unread on my TBR, and I got rid of about 20 to 30 or so, I want to say. That number is always like fluctuating because I get sent books from publishers and then I have to figure out whether or not I want to keep them. Also, there are like a bunch of times where I'll pick up a book and I'll realize I'm not in the mood for it, so I'll put it down. Some of the books that I got rid of were books that I had tried and I wasn't really feeling, and so I decided to just get rid of them. If I ever want to read them again, I can get them from the library or something. So I decided to just show off the books that had lasted on my TBR because I think it would be just the more interesting idea of what to show you. I'm not going to talk about the books really because I don't know that much about them. I might talk about like why I still have them a little bit, but I don't want this to be a 30-minute video. So first I'm going to show off some books that you have already seen really recently. If you watched my Nonfiction November TBR video, you will have seen the first couple of these. That is Homage to Catalonia by George Orwell, Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, and The Ballad of the Whiskey Robber by Julian Rubinstein. So those three are books that I am hoping to get to sooner rather than later just because of Nonfiction November. Especially Ballad of the Whiskey Robber is one where I was sort of on the fence about whether or not to get rid of it, but then I realized it was Nonfiction November, so I would read it right away. So yeah, that's the only reason why that book survived that cut. Otherwise, there's a pretty good chance I would have gotten rid of it. And then the next three that I have here are books that I got in the Book of the Month unboxing, so I will link to that and you can check that out if you want to hear me talk more about them. But that is Every Man a Menace by Patrick Hoffman, which is a thriller about like drug trafficking and such. Also, if you haven't watched that Book of the Month unboxing, there's one more book in there that's already read, so I don't have to include that in my unread TBR. And now I'm just going to run through these in the order that I have them in piles. If you follow me on BookRite, you may have seen that I put up a video showing how I store my TBR pile. I will link to that so you can check it out. But basically, I have a dresser that's filled with books, and on the top of the dresser is where I keep my to-be-read books, so that way they're always visible, so they're always bothering me to read them. So yeah, I just have them stacked on top of each other in no particular order, so I'm just going to run through these really quickly. I have Why I Write by George Orwell, which I could actually count this for Nonfiction November as well if I am in the mood for more not George Orwell. The Haunted Bookshop by Christopher Morley. The Eternal Husband by Dostoevsky. And those are both Melville House Art of the Novella series books. I have Steal Like an Artist and Show Your Work, which I got for Christmas, which are both really short, and I really just need to sit down and read through all of them. I've sort of just like flipped through them, but I haven't read it like cover to cover, which I really need to do. The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolaño, which I basically just butchered. This is a book that slightly intimidates me, but I think it's going to be one of those like big intimidating books that I try to tackle next year. The Patron Saint of Liars by Ann Patchett, which I almost got rid of, but then I was like, I really like Ann Patchett, so I do want to give this one a try. Boy Snowbird by Helen Oyeyemi. I read Mr. Fox sometime last year, I want to say, and I wasn't that big of a fan of it, so I've been slightly putting off reading this one, but I've heard that it's just such a good book and it's kind of a fun and interesting take on a retelling, so I really do want to give it a try. So I'm keeping it for now. We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which I just got in the last quarterly box unboxing. Again, a really tiny one that I could probably just read right now and get it off my unread TBR, which I might actually do. Maybe I'll include this in my Nonfiction November as well. One of Us is Sleeping by Josephine Klogart, translated from the Danish by Martin Atkin. I picked this up during BEA and I've been really wanting to read it, especially since I've been wanting to read more books in translation. Really should get around to this. Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This one comes out in November, so I am planning on reading this relatively soon, so that way I can talk about it in the month of November. The Beautiful Things That Heaven Bears by Dinoue Mingetsu. Hopefully I said that correctly, probably didn't. This is one I picked up when I was in Philadelphia. No, when I was at New Jersey. I mean, Philly was included in that same trip, but I picked this up at Labyrinth Books near Princeton. The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. As you are all aware, I love Elif Shafak, and I've been slowly collecting her books as I see them at independent bookstores. So this was the most latest one that I picked up. I haven't read it yet because I do like to space out books by the same author a little bit. I read Honor in February, I want to say, so I'm thinking I might do like one Elif Shafak per year just so I can savor her books a little bit, but we'll see what happens. The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende, which I really just need to read already. So many people rave about this book. Bird by Anne Lamott, another one that I've read like pieces of before but I've never read cover to cover. Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This one I plan on reading in the month of December. Max from Well Done Books is doing a Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie read-along sort of thing, and he's reading one Adichie book every month, and so I think Americana is December, so I plan on reading this book then. Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. I need to read this book. I've heard mixed things about it, so we'll see how I actually feel about it, but I don't think I can ever get rid of it because I got it signed when she was at Book Riot Live, so this one is like never leaving my collection whether or not I like it. Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. I had been doing a thing where I read one Toni Morrison every summer. I didn't read one this past summer and I'm very disappointed in myself for doing that, but it will get read. And then I also have Paradise by Toni Morrison. This one I found at a used bookstore for like super cheap, so I just picked it up because I knew I would want to read it eventually. The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fistfight in Heaven by Sherman Alexie. I read The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, I believe is the title of his young adult book, and I really loved it. So I found this one at Half Price Books for like $1, so I decided to pick it up because I've been wanting to read more Sherman Alexie. Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. I don't read a lot of science fiction, and since this one was sort of all the rage on BookTube a little while ago, I figured I would pick it up and give it a try. The Brothers Karamazov, I need to learn how to say that, by Dostoevsky. This is actually going to be the big book that I tackle in 2017, so spoiler alert. I found this beautiful edition at Half Price Books, so I picked it up, and so next August I will definitely be reading this book, and hopefully some of you guys will be joining me for it. In the Shadow of the Banyan by Vadi Ratner. And then I also got The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey, probably mispronounced that. This one was also all the rage on BookTube a while ago, and I was thinking about reading this one this winter, so you know, December, January, February, at some point I will be picking up this book. Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. I just need to sit down and read this one because it's a tiny little one, but yeah, I love John Steinbeck's writing, and so I picked up this one at a used bookstore, I believe when I was in California. Jenny, please tell me if I bought this when I was with you, because I have a very strong feeling I bought this when I was visiting you in California. Under the Udala Tree by Chinelo Oparantra. Oh man, I totally butchered that one. I'm getting tired. This one was actually sent to me by the publisher like within the past like week or two. It's new out in paperback. When it came out in hardcover, it was getting a lot of really great reviews because it has to deal with LGBTQ issues in Nigeria. I'm not completely sure of like what exactly it's about, but it won the Lambada Literary Award. So yeah, I'm interested just to see how this one shakes down. Next I have What Lies Between Us by Naomi Munaweera. This one was sent to me by someone at Book Riot. She was getting rid of some of her books, and so she put them up for grabs, and so I decided to grab this one. I believe it follows a family as they immigrate from Sri Lanka into the United States, and they are running from some things, or the girl has seen some difficult things or something along those lines. Like I said, I don't really know too much about these books before. And then I have Every Vagabond by Named by Margot Orlando Littrell. This is printed by Uno Press, which is a small little indie press, and they contacted me asking me if I was interested in this book, and it sounds really interesting. It takes place in like a small town in Pennsylvania, and it has like really good reviews on Goodreads, so I decided that I would take this. Also, I just really like this cover, and also the back. It's just like super intriguing, totally caught my eye, so may have just picked this up based on that alone. Actually, that's not true. I totally looked it up to read the synopsis, so yeah. And then finally, I have Shrill by Lindy West. This is one that I got sent in my, not this most recent book of the month box, but the one before that, and I still haven't picked it up yet, just because, as you can see, I have a lot of books to read, but I definitely am looking forward to reading this one because I've heard nothing but good things about it. So yeah, those are all of the books that have survived my TBR purge. If you've read any of these books, definitely let me know what you thought of them down in the comment section below. It might help me figure out which one to pick up sooner rather than later, although I do sort of have like a general idea of when I want to be reading some of these books, or if you hated any of these books, that's always helpful as well, because then I can decide whether or not to get rid of them. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.